From your news leader, this is WTAJ Sports.
In college football, few chants are more recognizable than "We Are Penn State." It's a phrase known across the country, and one you're as likely to hear in a Texas airport as you are inside Beaver Stadium. There are a couple of stories where the chant comes from. Tonight, I dive into the legend. On fall Saturdays, 4 words echo across Beaver Stadium.
You walk into the stadium and there's 107,000 fans cheering it all together. It's a powerful moment.
We are Penn State. It's become one of sports' most recognizable phrases.
When you're on vacation, you'll see a Penn State hat, and you throw "We Are" out there. It's that instant Penn State, and it's just that instant connection with alumni and fans, and it's pretty cool.
But to understand the story of where it came from, we must go back to the 1940s. It's November of 1946. Jackie Robinson has yet to play for the Dodgers, and Southern schools in college football had yet to play a game featuring both blacks and whites.
The gentleman's agreement was an unwritten rule. You could play a Southern team, but you wouldn't take your black player play with him.
That year, Penn State was scheduled to play in Miami, but with 2 black players, Wally Triplett and Denny Hogard, the Hurricanes said they'd only play if Penn State left them behind.
They said, we're going to vote. We're going to start voting. And eventually, in the course of the conversation, they made it unanimous.
If you think about what it took for people who didn't look like him to stand up for him in that time and in that climate, I think that's really, the gift of that particular team.
That day, Penn State took a historic stand, one they'd repeat a year later with a potential national championship on the line. The team was invited to Texas to play in the Cotton Bowl, but under one condition. This time, there was no vote. A leader on the team, Steve Suey, got up in front of the whole team and rejected the idea that they'd play without Triplett and Hogard, saying, quote, "We are Penn State." That's at least how Wally Triplett told the story.
He certainly, in his mind, believed that moment was impactful and was the birthplace, if you will, of that chant.
But Penn State historian Lou Prado says that story is more urban legend than fact.
There's a old Western movie. It's called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. The classic line, it's one of my favorite lines of all time. He says, when the legend becomes the fact, you print the legend. And everybody's printing the legend now.
Fast forward 30 years later, it's 1976, and the iconic cheer makes its first appearance in what was known at the time as a quiet Beaver Stadium.
Students were sat on their hands. They said they were very quiet. They weren't into it.
And one of the things that I remember Penn State was famous for was when the visiting team ran onto the field, there was applause for the visiting team, welcoming them to Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley.
Penn State's cheerleaders wanted to change all of that, so they looked across football for inspiration, grabbing ideas from schools like USC.
They do We Are SC.
And Ohio State.
They do their OHIO cheer.
The cheer team put a Penn State twist on it, and We Are Penn State came to life. After a couple years, the cheer became what we know it as today, this iconic chant that's actually immortalized right here on campus with this statue. But the truth is, those 1970s cheerleaders, they didn't know what had happened 30 years prior. They didn't know about Wally Triplett, Denny Hogard, or Steve Suey.
When the whole thing in the mid-70s off, and the cheerleaders are looking for a enthusiastic cheer to get the crowd going, I just feel like that spirit was there. I guarantee it. I just feel like that was destiny.
But truthfully, it doesn't matter if the cheerleaders knew. While the stories may live on parallel timelines, they do share one common message.
Whether it's "We Are" or a lot of different sayings that are throughout college football that are rallying cries for a community to come together, I think is important. And I think it's even more important, again, when there's a deeper meaning and a connection to the history.
I do think We Are does stand for what that team stood for. And I think as a, call to action for alumni and supporters of Penn State. I mean, it's certainly, the story of my grandfather's team and We Are feel very synonymous. And especially as a university going forward, I hope that it continues to be a call to action and a chant of pride.
This story, in many ways, is a continuation of a piece we did earlier this month on Wally Triplett and that 1946 team. It's a deeper dive into that historic moment and the 1948 Cotton Bowl. You can actually see that piece right now over on WTAJ.com.